Today, Crypto World travels to a major Ethereum conference to talk to political leaders, digital artists, and more. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World, on location at the 2022 ETHDenver conference. I'm MacKenzie Sigalos. Now, before we get into all of the action on the ground here, let's catch you up on the price moves. Cryptocurrencies fell sharply since yesterday, dropping more than 4% on average by noon Eastern. Now, we've said it before, but Fed policy and tensions between Russia and Ukraine are still top of mind for investors. Bitcoin fell about 4% in the past 24 hours. It briefly dipped below $40,000 for the first time in 2 weeks. Ether fell even further, losing about 6% since yesterday. It's worth about $2,800 per token. Solana is also down about 6% since Thursday. Okay, those were the price moves. Here are just some of the stories I'm following while here at the conference. First, the Denver Broncos are up for sale. What if you could be part owner? I spoke to Sean O'Brien, who says that he is part of a group aiming to raise more than $4 billion to buy the team using a DAO. Now, it's definitely a long shot and in its early stages. Not to mention, O'Brien's last attempt to buy a U.S. sports team with the DAO was unsuccessful. But he says the perception around DAOs is changing.
With the general sense of fan ownership or collective ownership, I think that generationally that was lost for such a long time. People nowadays, from a technological side, understand group ownership when it comes to, ride sharing, when it comes to a bird scooter, whatever it is. We kind of get this collective sense of like, hey, we can utilize this resource and it doesn't have to just be mine.
Next, I spoke with several African leaders and influencers about growing crypto adoption across the continent. Princess Sarah Culberson of Sierra Leone spoke to me about her initiative to train blockchain developers within the country.
We started talking with Harmony, and the conversation was, well, what's really needed? Well, people don't have access to bank accounts. Well, what if we could train developers on the ground in Sierra Leone, because the people in Sierra Leone really know what's needed, not a bunch of amazing Solidity developers in Silicon Valley, but really people on the ground who can learn how to code. And so we're creating a program to have that happen.
I also spoke with Kweku Mandela, grandson of Nelson Mandela, who says that blockchain technology can help empower communities.
Our focus, not only with Global Citizen, but with what my family does, has always been about how can we empower communities. Blockchain is probably the most powerful tool to do that right now. We've seen that with the amount of people all over the world who've been able to make money off of the system, to create solutions to problems that are happening.
Finally, I also had the chance to sit down with Emily Yang, the NFT artist also known as PplPleasr. She is part of the collective known as PleasrDAO, and she is set to unveil her latest project at this conference. Here are just some of the things that we covered in our discussion.
Okay, you wrote an article on how crypto changed your life. Let's start there. Tell me about the piece. Tell me about how crypto changed your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just basically in 2020, before that, I mean, I have loved art ever since I was young. I started drawing as soon as I can remember, but when I graduated college, I was working in visual effects and feature animation. And then in 2020, because of the pandemic, I was unemployed. And then my relationship with crypto was that in 2017, I had invested in it just because I read about it and I really believed in the technology. But then in 2020, when I was casually browsing crypto Twitter, I realized that, there might be an opportunity here for me to sort of marry my skill set with the industry. And then so I started making these little animations that would sort of, represent DeFi protocols and help promote them and, just sort of be storytelling in the space. And then, yeah, I think through word of mouth, I grew a little community there of people who are crypto enthusiasts. And then obviously in the beginning of 2021, when NFTs were basically having this explosion of popularity, I also auctioned off, my first auction ever. And then that NFT ended up selling for over $500,000, which I donated all of it to charity. But, a DAO was formed around to sort of purchase it. And then this same DAO called PleasrDAO had kind of inspired, the whole DAO movement essentially. And, this concept of people coming together, and community and crowdfunding and things like that. And so, yeah, ever since, I've just been on a whirlwind of participating in always sort of helping spread crypto to like a wider audience. So, I did the cover of Fortune magazine, and it was a special issue.
And then for somebody who doesn't know what a DAO is, break it down for the layman.
Yeah, so a DAO stands for, DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And really what it means is just, it's a group of people who coordinate and make decisions together on the blockchain. And you can sort of, there's these governance tokens that are distributed to each of the members, and you can, how do they make decisions on the blockchain is they're using their governance tokens, and then they vote on decisions. So in the example of PleasrDAO, it'd be like, if we're trying to decide whether or not we want to buy the Wu-Tang album, then we would put up a vote using this app called Snapshot, and then people who have, the governance tokens can go on and just, so you can just vote based on your tokens. Like something like that would just be like a simple yes or no, and then you can vote yes or no. And so that's kind of like a really simplified version of like what a DAO is. It's essentially just a group of people with aligned interests who are coordinating and making decisions together on the blockchain.
Now, you mentioned that PleasrDAO was a first mover in terms of crowdfunding cash, crypto cash, in order to buy a piece of artwork, right? Can you get more into that and how significant this was for the industry?
Sure, because around that time when I was auctioning off this NFT, it wasn't new that we were seeing NFTs being sold for, a lot of money. But prior to, I guess, the one that I did that was purchased by PleasrDAO, it was mostly going to individual collectors. So like basically just like wealthy individuals, like being owned by one person. And then so PleasrDAO was kind of like the first time that a group of people had sort of come together and then pooled money together and then decided that they collectively wanted to own this one NFT. And then so, it sounds so straightforward now, but at the time it was really just not something that anybody was doing. And then so it was the first time that it happened. And I think, it struck a chord with so many people because it opened up the possibilities of not just individualism, but collective ownership, as well as just the fact that, people can do more when they band together as opposed to just like being one person.
Obviously, you're such a huge player in the world of NFT creation. What is that space like?
I think, at least when I was getting my start, it was definitely not very diverse. I would say probably at least 90% of the blue chip NFT artists were predominantly male and white. And so maybe another reason why so many people thought my story was unique was because when I did the sale at the time, immediately I was the first female on the Platform Foundation to even make a sale like that. And so people started realizing, okay, the space is actually not that diverse. And then so, ever since then, obviously, then PleasrDAO went on to buy, the Tor Project's NFT that was made by X-Charles, who's also a woman artist. And then we started sort of really advocating for more diversity in the space because I think there's as many female creators as there are males. And, it's not that the space is not inclusive. I think they just weren't exposed. And in terms of, like how the space is right now, I think it's definitely getting more inclusive. We're seeing like Guy Osiri representing World of Women NFTs, which really, sort of started this surge of female represented, profile picture projects. And obviously being an artist, I love that NFTs revolve so much around art right now, but really I think the technology is so much more than that. And so hopefully I think we're going to see more and more like that it's going to be less around art, and hopefully, the reports are going to revolve less around, how much money an NFT is selling for it, and more about what kind of opportunities this technology could really open up for creators.
Before we go, we want to let you know that you can find all the conversations in full at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. That's all for today's edition of Crypto World, but we'll be back again next week on Tuesday with more, so we'll see you then.